first realized I was a food addict when I was invited to a meeting about weight loss. And I quickly realized that it was a 12-step program for food addiction. There was a lady there that shared her story and her relationship about food. And she talked about going on diet after diet and not finding any lasting success. She would always gain her weight back. She talked about eating in isolation, stashing away food. And so I really resonated with her story because that was the same things I was doing. I had no success with diets long term. I could lose the weight, but I'd turn around and gain the weight back. I would always go back to the way I was eating. And she talked about being addicted to flour and sugar and processed foods. And thinking back, of course, I was addicted to those things and not realizing that I was, because the only thing I knew at that point when I was sitting there in the meeting is that I couldn't control my food. I couldn't stay on a diet, and my weight was steadily escalating. So I had no answer at that time for not keeping the weight off. And so when I was sitting there, I just realized that I was a food addict and I needed help. The stigma with being a food addict, I really didn't find it as a bad thing for me. I just was looking for a solution to my problem. And I didn't feel bad or sad about it. I just felt like, oh, I got the answer now to my issue. Now I can work on solving the problem. The first diet I can remember trying was, actually I was in the 4th grade and I had a crush on a boy on the playground, and he was in one of my classes. And so I restricted myself. Now, mind you, I was like 9 years old. And of course, I couldn't go out and buy a program to be on. So I just restricted myself and didn't eat lunch. And I had some crackers for maybe dinner. And so I just skipped meals. And that was, I think, my first diet that I can remember. But the first commercial diet that I paid for was called the Diet Center. And it was a 1,000-calorie program where, I had to eat food that was in that calorie range, 1,000 calories a day. And of course it didn't last. Oh, wow. I tried so many diets over the years, from starving myself to eating 1 meal a day to snacking throughout the day, the cabbage soup diet, the Weight Watchers, all the commercial diets. I even tried Fin for a minute until that crazy scare of taking drugs like that. Let's see, I tried shots, pills, anything I could get my hands on that I thought would work. So over 40 years of dieting, it never worked for me. Clearly thinking back, those diets didn't work for me because I didn't know that I was addicted to the flour and sugar and processed foods. So any diet, any commercial diet that I went on, it didn't work because it had those substances in it. A lot of the packaged foods, a lot of the over-the-counter foods have sugar in it, and a lot of the especially the desserts, had flour in it. And so it was just a vicious circle that it kept me coming back for more and more and more. So once I get flour and sugar in my system, I want more. Those who say that you can't be a food addict because you have to eat, well, yeah, I have to eat 3 times a day, but you realize you can be addicted to anything. And my addiction happened to be flour, sugar, and processed foods. There's been studies done on food addiction, and people like me, when I have sugar in my system, they've taken MRIs of the brain, and they show the area where dopamine is released into the brain. My brain is lit up. And so for the normal eater, their brain is not lit up, like my brain. So when I take in cookies or chocolate, or chocolate cake, or those things that I'm attracted to, that keeps me coming back for more. I get those endorphins, and the dopamine is just, like I said, flooding my brain, and it results in an uncontrollable craving. And so, for instance, the normal eater would take a piece of cake and eat it, maybe have one or two bites, and they'll be satisfied. For me, I eat a piece of cake and I eat that piece, and then I want more. So you can see the difference between a normal eater and the food addictive eater. The candy bar story. Well, I was about 6 years old, and my oldest brother one day came in the house, and he showed all the kids that he bought a box of candy bars, chocolate candy bars from the ice cream truck. And he threatened each one of us to not go into his candy bars. And he knew how many he had. So if someone stole a candy bar, that he would beat them up. So I was standing there, and I was looking at him put it away in his drawer. And it was in the hallway, it was in the bottom drawer, it was a squeaky drawer. And so anyway, he put it in there, and he went out to play. And so I was there, and being the little food addict I was, I wanted a piece of candy. I didn't care the consequences. And so I pulled the drawer out, and like I said, it was a squeaky drawer, so I pulled it out just a little bit. So since I was little, all I needed was like 2 inches to put my hand in there to get the candy bar. So I got it out and shut it, and went to my room, and I just took the wrapper off and just shoved it in my mouth, and I was scared, but I wanted the candy bar more. And I threw the wrapper underneath the bed. So my brother comes in, and he counts his candy bar, and you know what happened, right? He says, "Who ate my candy bar? Somebody took one." And so, he asked each of his siblings, and he came to me. "You take my candy bar?" "No." So, yeah, early on, I was addicted to sugar, definitely. I started my blog, Breaking Chains of Food Addiction, because I wanted to let other women know that there is hope for you. Because, a lot of people go on diets after diets and don't find any solution. And not knowing that there is a solution, there is a way to live in your right-sized body year after year, and don't have to buy bigger clothes because you're trying to control your weight. And so I want people to know that there is a way to live without, going on trying to find the right diet, and women may not know that they're addicted to flour and sugar. I certainly didn't know before I went to the 12-step program. So letting them know that there's hope, and letting them know that if I can do it, they can do it too.